what do you see as the biggest challenges that Iowa manufacturers have overcome during these first 6 months or so of the pandemic?
Sure. First of all, Joe, I'd like to thank you and Chris and the Business Record and Mike and Nicole for ABI on hosting this event, because over the last 6 months, we found out one of the biggest helps to us has been sharing the best practices, whether it's from Coke bottlers around the country, other manufacturers from around the country, just sharing the practices. So thank you for doing this. And two of our biggest challenges, number one has been how fragile the supply chain is. And there was a term that was really hot for quite a while, just-in-time delivery. And we found out that maybe that's not quite the best way to do it. And the supply chain has really been stretched, whether it's transportation, processing the raw materials. We found out that we've just got to do a better job of forecasting and improving that supply chain. Second thing that we found is adapting to the new regulations, whether it's face coverings, the temperature checks, a lot of new regulations, the distancing in the manufacturing facilities. So those are the two of the biggest ones that we've come across.
Okay, thank you. And now turning from the beverage to the food industry, Kellan, let me put that same question to you. What do you see or have been some of the biggest challenges that you're working to overcome?
Yeah, I will echo a lot of what Kirk had said. And for many manufacturers, we take safety really seriously, and it's always been one of our top priorities. But in the new challenges that we face is that health and safety now become infinitely more important, because we have increased amounts of business now, and then coupled with making sure that our safety measures can keep our employees healthy. So we've been working really closely, similarly to Kirk, with the CDC and the World Health Organization, learning from other manufacturers around best practices for social distancing, utilizing thermal imaging scanners to make sure that we can monitor. But really, all of our manufacturing facilities today, they still remain open. And so we continue to operate without significant disruption for attendance purposes. But the bigger impact, and it's no secret around General Mills, is that COVID-19, this pandemic, has profoundly impacted our business. So we're seeing unprecedented amounts of increase in demand for food at home, because that's where our consumers and our customers are. And consumers are buying much more online. So when we have challenges around e-commerce and making sure that we're able to take all of those orders for our food, and then pantry stockpiling didn't help either. So we've had a very dynamic business situation as the pandemic has evolved, and business safety and operational challenges have been something that we've worked hard to overcome.
Thank you. So Eric, from your perspective, advising manufacturing clients in the investment banking world, what are some of the biggest challenges that you encountered?
So I guess the first challenge was you always kind of look to your historical record, and I'll say that this recession is not a heck of a lot like the last one. For the first 45 days from middle March, probably through the end of April, I'd say it was very much like the last recession, or it seemed very much like the last recession, because things, and worse, frankly, things just kind of shut down. And I would say that for most industries was across the board, just so much uncertainty. And what we have seen kind of from that point on, it's been a stair step. I'll give you an obscure literary reference. It's the to have or have not, and I'll bet somebody might be able to figure that one out from an obscure author in the 20th century. But you have a very bifurcated market today, both in the manufacturing space and just really across the economy. And just a couple examples here. Kellan's business is certainly I would say a have. With a ton of challenges. We've had some clients that have been extremely successful and really seen a lot of demand in some of those really essential industries and products, but their challenges are our people. I mean, we have some companies that we work with where on average for the past 90 days, they've probably been 20% of their workforce just out of the equation. So trying to work through that, spacing, safety, plexi, the whole bit, a lot of challenges there. And then Kirk's business, for example, I would imagine, the on-premise has probably been as challenging for that type of business, a distributor of Coca-Cola products, versus, frankly, the grocery and the convenience side has probably been kind of booming for them. So you have an exact example of what we're seeing across the industry, just with a couple of the panelists here.
Okay, well, thanks, Eric. And Mike, just looking across the spectrum of your ABI members, what sort of observations would you say are coming across from your members at this point?
Well, Joe, first let me say thanks very much again to you and Chris and the Business Record for this event today. And the panelists are great representatives of ABI member companies. So if I say nothing else, I just should agree with whatever they say, and I generally do. But I'll tell you, at ABI, when it came to challenges with the pandemic, we really heard three main challenges. Two were, I couldn't say that these first two, the one was the greatest or not, but the two things we heard were, one, we want to stay operating. Manufacturers wanted to stay in business, and two, we want to take care of our employees. We want to make sure that they're safe. And so for the first, I'll use Eric's time frame, for the first 30 to 45 days, we spent our time making sure the manufacturers could stay in operation and they could take care of their employees' safety and health. And then the third concern that surfaced right away was supply chain. Kirk referenced just-in-time inventory, and that caused some issues for a lot of people. And then we had folks who relied on supplies or product from states that were locked down. They couldn't get their product. And so there were a lot of different issues. But those three things, staying in operation, making sure your employees were healthy and safe, and dealing with supply chain, those were the big challenges that we heard from members.
Thanks, Mike. And Galea, now from an economist's point of view, what are you seeing as the biggest challenges? And take that as broad as you would like. I mean, looking at it globally, down to the ground level in Iowa.
Yeah, well, thank you for having me on the panel today. Really excited to be here. And in terms of challenges that we saw, all of us see, even before the COVID-19, we already have difficulties finding laborers or talents within our hometown. So I think when the COVID-19 hits, that really exacerbated the situation. Absenteeism has become a very challenging issue. And unlike manufacturing is very unique because you have to be there to do the work. And John Deere was also designated as a critical essential food supply, so we have to be there. Unlike other, finance industry where you can potentially work from home, so childcare becoming a problem as well for a lot of our workers in the line. So childcare has become a problem, so that leads to absenteeism. So we have overcome a lot of challenges in supply chain, as many panelists talked about, and also we have found out that one of the best practice that we've been putting out, besides others following the CDC guidelines, also be able to communicate to our workers, because this is a known unknown situation. Everybody knows this is real. Everybody start to be concerned about this, but how do we bring our workforce, let them know that we are care about their health and safety, and having that consistent always communicate with our factories and workers and all the work, everybody in the factory. So those has been really successful, helping us, becoming more, helping people safeguard their safety. In terms of looking a little at the higher level, just like what Eric said, this pandemic hits different sectors very differently. There are segments in the economies are still recovering, hotel, hospitalities, leisures, and there are segments in the economies that are really booming. Home food services, do it yourself kind of a project. You go to Menard, you go to Home Depot, things just buy off the shelf. So I think as it hits the economy differently, the recovery pace also going to be different for different sectors as well. So I'll just hold off for the recovery thought on that, but just kind of want to point out that there are also the the ones that affected more and the one that actually positively affected by this whole COVID-19.